What is up, everybody, and welcome on in to an impromptu SCO show right here on Media Row in lovely New Orleans, Louisiana. Hope everybody is doing out there. Make sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. That way you guys never miss an episode of the program. And I am joined by Adam Breneman of CBS Sports, also does some awesome work in the NIL Collective. And yesterday, had the opportunity. Obviously, everyone's talking Chiefs and Eagles. A lot of people we want to talk some Broncos with as well. Yeah. But you specialize in the college football department, my friend. So why not talk a little Colorado Buffaloes? Thank you so much for a few minutes of your time. How you doing today, my man?
I'm good, man. I appreciate having me on. It's good to be down here at the Super Bowl and excited to talk. I mean, it's a fun time to be covering Colorado right now, huh? A lot to talk about, man. Hey, how much has that changed in 2 years for you, brother?
It has been night and day. I mean, I've been working in media for about 10 years now back home in Denver. And look, I'm not afraid to say it. Like Colorado and really Colorado State, not really a blimp on the radar.
Yeah.
Like you had Mike McIntyre with the Rise, they called it back in 2016. But really, for the most part since then, he had a couple fun years with Mel Tucker before he and went to Michigan State. But what Coach Prime has done, man, we got him here on the cover of Mile High Sports Magazine. Make sure to check it out, milehighsports.com. It is nothing short of spectacular. And for people like yourself or people that maybe, aren't in Colorado, what I always like to say to kind of sum it up, not Alabama, not Ohio State, not LSU. Colorado was the only team this college football season that was on national TV every single week. That tells you all you need to know.
No doubt. I mean, the job Deion has done of listen, not just building excitement, because if people talk about Deion has come to Colorado and he's brought excitement, he's brought energy, he's done a whole hell of a lot more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's brought a culture of winning.
Yep.
He's established that what it means to be a Colorado Buff. He has completely changed the vibe around that program. And I think in the beginning, he brought the excitement. In the beginning, he brought the energy. But now he has brought results. Yep. And that's the most important piece of the whole thing. Listen, 5 years ago, I would never consider going to Colorado for a game. Right now, I went to the Colorado USC game last year. I was paying top money to fly out to that one. I mean, what he has done and how he's transformed the program is remarkable. And I love how much Deion has leaned into social media and they have documented how he's built that program as well on YouTube and all the content around it. I think he's really changed the game, and it's been fun to watch the trajectory change at Colorado.
Well, and they've got the Amazon Prime show called Prime, but like to your point about like the YouTube and stuff, I mean, it's like when you follow Colorado on a day-to-day basis, it's really like a living, breathing reality TV show. Yeah. Because you have so much content, so many different outlets, and it's been incredible. But I think, a lot of people get caught up in the glitz and the glamour of Coach Prime, right? But to your point, he has done a really good job of establishing a culture, a winning culture, a culture that's going to develop these guys to get to the NFL. You talk about a guy like Warren Sapp on your staff, right? I saw they're talking to Marshall Faulk this offseason as well, among some others. So it is right place, right time, right? The NIL, like I'm not sure if Deion could have done this 10 years ago. I mean, I'm sure he could have because it's Deion Sanders, but the landscape of college football has changed so much that I think it's set him up for success with who he is.
Yeah, it's perfect timing too, because when you are a first-time Power 4 head coach, I know he was at Jackson State before, but first-time Power 4 head coach, the fact that everyone else in college football is dealing with the changes the same time you are, so having the experience if for the people Deion's competing with didn't really matter because it's completely changed. I mean, NIL portal has changed everything completely in college sports. So everyone was kind of starting over. No one had a manual for how to handle NIL in the portal. And Deion did it the right way. Listen, he built the excitement. He built the energy. He said, we are going to win. And then he went and rebuilt his roster. And that's what NIL in the portal is for. And people want to talk about like the players that kicked off the team. They're doing those players a favor. Saying, go find another home. You're not going to play here. Go get your bag. Go somewhere else.
Green, perfect example. Exactly.
Went to Bama. And it works for all sides. And then I think, too, the fact that being able to do it with your sons as well is really special. Cool. And the fact that of all the attention the last couple of years and all the eyeballs on Deion and Shedeur, Travis, very little negativity. Very little off the field issues. I mean, think about being that age in that spotlight, and the fact that there were no issues. The fact that if there was negativity, it was all manufactured. Shows that Deion's a great leader.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, Folsom Field, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. I grew up, going up to games and being around the campus and whatnot. It's always a good time, but it's nothing. Like I was in the building when the Nuggets won the championship, right? And like if that was here, a regular season game in Boulder is like through the roof when it comes to the energy and excitement. So I'm excited for this year. I know you're based around the Philadelphia area. Kaidon Salter, former Liberty quarterback, coming into Colorado now, expected to be likely quarterback one. Obviously, you've got one of the top quarterback high school prospects in Julian Lewis, who is also committed to Colorado. So what I'm excited about for next year is what is it going to look like without Travis and Shedeur, right? Like those guys did such a good job of laying this foundation for Colorado. Now it's up to Coach Prime and the guys to get this team going again.
I've been around Julian Lewis a bunch at the Overtime 707 circuit. I do a lot of work with them, call those games on NFL Network, actually. So I've seen Julian there. I've seen him at some of the quarterback camps. The guy's as talented as they come. You know, he walks around with some confidence. He kind of has this aura around him of just like he's got some swagger. He knows what he's doing. He belongs in the big moments, and he's got tons of talent. And he's mobile, but has an accurate live arm as well. So I think they'll be in a great position with him. And then Kaidon Salter is about as talented as they come. I think he's 10 years ago, maybe wouldn't be looked at as like a prototypical NFL player, but I think he's got NFL talent. The way he's a dual threat guy, can create with his legs, can escape the pocket, can make things happen. I always talk about like creativity. Playing quarterback in 2025 is as much like playing shortstop in baseball as it is anything else. Can you throw out of different arm angles? Can you throw out of different arm slots? And Kaidon Salter has shown he can do that at Liberty at a high level.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's what's exciting is, maybe some people that are maybe just Colorado fans that don't understand who Kaidon Salter is or how he plays. I mean, you're hearing it here from Adam. He's an explosive player, can throw the ball at a bunch of different levels, has the running ability as well. Shedeur could run, but I don't think like Kaidon Salter has the ability.
Shedeur was always most comfortable standing in the pocket.
Correct.
I thought, he could escape and make plays, but I thought when Shedeur was at his very best is when he was kind of in those yes-no situations at quarterback. By yes-no, I mean it's one read, you're either ripping it or you're not, or it's a play-action shot, max protection, take the shot down the field.
Right.
I thought where Shedeur needs to improve a little bit, and that's probably the concern in the NFL, if there is any, is just can he be a guy who goes from all the way through 4 progressions in rhythm and drives the ball in there on a backside dig route.
Right.
And I think that's the area, and he wasn't asked to do that a whole lot. So you always think like Jaden Daniels had the same concern going to the NFL. Didn't end up being a big issue, right? Can you put him in the best situations? He wasn't asked to do that. Shedeur wasn't asked to do that a whole lot. So it's hard to judge him on that. But I'd say if there's one area that I want to see Shedeur grow, it's that true pocket passer. Can you be the Matt Stafford, Tom Brady-esque, where you're literally in the pocket going through each read?
Yeah, and I think he's certainly got that in his toolbox for sure. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's also been mentored to an extent by a guy like Tom Brady, right? So he's got the right guys in his corner, and, it also helps when you have Travis and, Zay Weaver and all the other guys that he's had over the years at the wide receiver position. But what's funny about Colorado is, look, I love Travis. I love Shedeur, Shiloh. They're all fun. You know who my favorite player is, though? Number 77, the offensive lineman, Jordan Seaton.
Yeah.
What an absolute unit. I'm excited to see him back, obviously, out of IMG Academy. True freshman last year, protecting Shedeur's blind side. They're going to continue to build up that offensive line.
He's probably a potential top 5 pick in the future. I mean, with his
and he's a wall
with his arm length. Yeah, that's what makes him so good is that those arms. I mean, his punch is so good. He's got great feet. There's a lot of talent, man, and it's always fun. It's always fun to see who Deion's going to bring in the offseason, right? I mean, you talk about Kaidon Salter, but just kind of revamping that roster year in and year out. It's a bunch of. I said a lot. College football in 2025 now is probably 90% talent acquisition, 10% talent development. It is all about acquiring the best players.
It's like free agency.
Exactly. It is all about, can you get the best players in your program to play day one? Because the reality is development, you're going to lose a lot of the guys anyway. They're going to leave. True. If you develop a bunch of players and their backups, they're going to leave. So it's all about talent acquisition.
Absolutely. Real quick, let me tell you about our friends over at Peckish, guys. Proud presenting sponsor here of the SCO Show. Be sure to check them out. Elite level chicken wings, elite level pizza, 2 locations across Colorado. Check out their flagship location up on the hill in Boulder and their brand new location off of I-25 and Bellevue. It's a safe haven for all Colorado Buffalo fans. And Adam, you work
a little ad read right there.
Thank you.
That was natural. I got hungry hearing that.
I'm not even kidding, bro. Like, you ever come out to Colorado, hit me up. Peckish on us. It is to die for.
Okay.
It's Coach Prime approved, Travis Hunter approved, and rumor has it that's where they take a lot of their recruits when they come on the visit. So it's a great spot. But Adam, you work in the NIL world as well, in addition to your work with CBS Sports. Why don't you explain what you do in the NIL world for the listener out there?
Yeah, so I started a company, co-founder of the college sports company. Really original name, right?
Yeah.
But
you can remember.
Yeah, no doubt. What we do is we worked with schools, athletic departments, NIL collectives around the country, hope to work with Colorado someday, to create athlete-driven media networks where we use the athletes as talent. Fans want to hear directly from the athletes
100%.
themselves. They don't want to hear from the beat reporter. They want to hear from the athletes. So we use the athletes as talent, create shows just like this one. We call them media assets, basically social media series, social media content, graphics, shows, podcasts. Create a media network, a media brand for the school or the collective, and then we monetize it with sponsorship like the ad read you just did.
Yep.
And then that money goes back to the athletes with NIL. Obviously, we take a small cut of it as for our business,
right?
But that's what we do. We believe that in 2025, the schools and collectives that think like media companies are the ones that will be able to drive the most revenue, therefore pay their players the most, therefore get a competitive advantage on the field.
Well, and I can tell you, Colorado is definitely in on that. The 5430 Alliance, the NIL collective up there in Boulder. I mean, I've been talking with them a little bit, and we had DJ McKinney on the show, and remember the name DJ McKinney, folks. You guys know that. Listen to the SCO show. How I feel about DJ.
Love it.
I mean, he probably had the hardest job as a cornerback in college football, having to play opposite side of Travis Hunter.
No doubt.
No one's looking Travis's way.
No doubt.
So now DJ's got to take all that. The transfer from Oklahoma State, now a 2-year buff. He could have gone pro this year if he wanted to, but it looks like he's coming back. So Colorado's definitely ahead of the curve. Which is
sometimes the biggest recruiting win. Sometimes it's not just recruiting. I mentioned talent acquisition. It's not just acquiring talent outside your program. It's reacquiring the talent inside your program.
Right.
To keep McKinney from hitting the portal.
Right.
To keep him there. A lot of times players are worth more money when they're in the portal from an NIL perspective.
That's a good point.
So I think that's another area Deion's done a good job of, is the players he wanted to keep, he's kept.
Well, and I think, he puts it out on the social media all the time, and you see it in the videos. Like, he tells his kids, right, like, there's a difference between getting a bag and a blessing.
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe if the NIL money, like, and look, these guys make good money at Colorado, but like, stay here, build this up, get the exposure, and you're probably going to be better off in the long haul with that as well. That's the power of Colorado. So how have you seen, I mean, obviously with your NIL company and whatnot, it's like the Wild West. I mean, it feels like it's a whole different game these days in college sports.
Yeah. I mean, what's going to change that is, I'm sure you've heard of the House settlement that's coming to college sports July 1st. Well, hopefully the judge approves the settlement in the House of Representatives.
Yep.
And what's going to happen is that the players will get paid directly by the schools in 2025 and beyond, where now each school, each Division I program or athletic department can pay their players $20.5 million a year, and that's revenue sharing. Most schools I'm hearing will do about $15 million to football and about $5 million to the rest of the sports. And what that'll do is it'll have contracts in place where players will have to, play in bowl games if they want the money. Where before you didn't have that. Now it'll be contracted. Players will know what they're getting paid. The money's guaranteed. We're collective sometimes. We're promising money, not able to pay it. Now with the House settlement, there'll be a lot more parity in level playing field in college football.
Love them, man. Where can people follow you on social media? Where can they check out your
everywhere?
work?
TikTok, Instagram, X, YouTube, at Adam Breneman.
Everywhere.
Yeah, my podcast next up with Adam Breneman. Appreciate having me home.
Absolutely, my man. Thank you so much. Make sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. Check out our friends over at Peckish. We are live here at Radio Row in New Orleans. What is up, everybody? Welcome on in to a Super Bowl Media Row edition of the SCO Show right here on Mile High Sports. Hope everybody's doing well out there. I'm Aniello Piro. Make sure to follow us on social media at Mile High Sports. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode. And I am joined by the man himself, Mr. Sam Bruchhaus of SumerSports. What's going on, buddy?
Man, I'm loving being back in New Orleans. There's so many things going on that are good here. It's great to see the city come together for the Super Bowl. It's great to have so many people like y'all in the city as well.
Well, and it's funny too, because like all my friends are like, what do you do out there? Like if you're going like the week before, and I'm like, this is the equivalent of like a sports media convention.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's a who's who, right? You've got ESPN over there, you got Fox Sports over here, CBS over there. I mean, it is absolutely incredible. And real quick for the listener out there, we've been doing Mile High Sports today here at Media Row, but your background in particular, I think you're centered around the draft and the upcoming players. Am I correct?
Exactly. So my background started off, I played football at the college level at Tulane, but I was a computer science major, so I have an idea of the analytics. I'm a data scientist by trade. So what we do at SumerSports is we train AI, and then we also have a full scouting team. We bring the two items together, and we try to achieve a better idea of some of these excellent prospects and what they're going to do in the pros.
So how did playing at the collegiate level kind of help your mind now in your profession?
Well, you look at the data, and a lot of times, especially with the money ball mindset, it's about boiling it down to one number That is not the case in football.
Okay.
The case in football, because there's so few plays and there's so few games, and every play and every game matters, is you're trying to tell a story to improve as quickly as possible. The issue is there's so much film and there's 22 players on the field that it's hard to get everything without spending an immense amount of time.
Right.
So at SumerSports, what we're trying to do is use that knowledge that I have from my collegiate level. And also we have several ex-general managers, Thomas Dimitrov, former general manager
we
of the
had him on
Falcons.
yesterday. Yep.
Yeah, excellent guy. He all that knowledge comes together to improve that storytelling that is expedited by the data.
Well, let's do a little storytelling here, shall we? Obviously, we got Coach Prime on the cover of one of our magazines here, Mile High Sports. Check it out, milehighsports.com. But Colorado football, it's funny. We ran into somebody upstairs that was a Colorado State alum, and he was giving us crap like, you guys have been irrelevant for so long, and you guys get Deion Sanders, and it's like everything's crazy, right? With all the attention. Can you believe, by the way, not Alabama, not LSU, not Ohio State. Colorado was the only team last year in college football that was on national TV every single week. You want to talk about exposure and boosting draft stock?
Well, I love watching them. And I got to say, I was at the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl. Most of the Colorado guys were at the Shrine Bowl, and they looked extremely well coached, high effort. They were giving the most effort, in my view, of any players at the game. And it was excellent to watch because, you hear the narratives and the hoopla about the program and, the superstar mentality that they all have, but it really shows in practice by them practicing like professionals. And so it was very interesting to see that, and some of them had some standout performances as well.
So, I'll let you choose. You want to go Shedeur or Travis first? Who should we dive into?
Let's start off with Shedeur because right now he's probably, consensus 1 and 2. And typically the analytics say the tighter to consensus that you draft, typically the better you do. And so someone who's done that time and time again, the Philadelphia Eagles, who are now in the Super Bowl, they have correct. When guys like Nolan Smith or Jalen Carter drop, they just take them off the board. So Shedeur's sitting there 1, 2. It could flip at any given point in time. I don't expect him to drop much lower than that. His profile is he's extremely accurate, which I believe y'all
I've been at all the games
all year, obviously. And that shows up in the AI that's watching everything and tracking every player on the field and comparing it to every past play. He's extremely accurate over expectation. Basically what that means, the throws that he was taking, he was completing them at a higher clip than anyone else in NCAA this year.
Yeah, and he's a guy, I had the chance to interview him a couple different times, been around him. I mean, you see the theatrics, right? Like you see the watch, you see all this stuff on social media. But to your point, what you saw at the Shrine Bowl, what I've seen up there in Boulder is the guy has a tireless work ethic. And there's a line between cocky and confident. Certainly. I think he does a great job of towing that line because he knows who he is. He knows how good he's going to be, not obviously at the collegiate level and now going to the NFL. And so that's why I'm so curious as to which team ends up drafting him, right? Because I think you can do so much work at SumerSports and in the draft process, but I do think a lot of the success of these players has to do with the fit and the organization which they go to.
Absolutely, 100%. So let's break it down. The reports say that the top 3 teams told him not to practice at the Shrine Bowl because they were prepared to take him and that he shouldn't take any other interviews. The Titans have Will Levis right now. Will Levis was one of the bottom quarterbacks in almost every single one of our metrics except for the big throw metrics, which basically means he was hitting some tight window throws.
Okay.
But he was taking way too many and putting the ball at risk quite a bit. I think Shedeur will be a little safer than him, and I think that bodes well in a Callahan offense that made Joe Burrow who he was at the NFL level.
Good point.
And then you look at the Browns. Very interesting situation. We had Deshaun Watson, who was not very successful. Then we moved in Jameis Winston. Years ago, we had Joe Flacco. I don't really know what it would look like around Shedeur Sanders. I think we could expect it to look a little bit of a blend of the shotgun offense that Deshaun Watson was and the more old school, chunk it deep, play action that Joe Flacco and Jameis Winston were running. I don't know how great of a fit it is, but I will say that Jerry Jeudy is a very good wide receiver and Kevin Stefanski is an excellent coach. I think he could also fit pretty well there, but I think the Titans may be a better fit long-term.
Yeah, and, for anyone out there, Cleveland Broncos are very familiar with Jerry Jeudy, obviously his time with the organization. So, it was one of those things where he needed to move on. The Broncos were ready to move on kind of with the new regime with Sean Payton, Bo Nix and company. So it'll be interesting. Let me ask you this, though, because I've heard from half people and seeing stuff online that Shedeur is the best quarterback in the draft. And then there's some other people that think Cam Ward is the best quarterback in the draft. I don't think you could really go wrong necessarily each way. I'm personally going to be biased because I've seen Shedeur, I've talked to Shedeur, but how would you kind of compare and contrast those two players?
Yeah, so just looking at their analytical profiles, I wouldn't say that they're as strong as last year, where it seemed like there was going to be a certified 2-3 guys that were locks and 2-3 guys that would certainly start right off the bat. So it's a little bit more hazy than that. I think Cam Ward is a little bit more of a playmaker in the vein of a Patrick Mahomes and stuff like that. But you look at Shedeur, he's a little bit more of a pro-style, old-school passer.
For sure.
That being said, they struggle with similar things. Sack avoidance is what they really struggle at. And, many people could just say, oh, well, they're not the most athletic guys. They're not going to be scrambling. Duh, they're not the greatest at sack avoidance. But what our sack avoidance at SumerSports also picks up is what I like to call the Matthew Stafford type of sack avoidance, where it's a pre-read. He's alerting the team that he knows what's going on, and he's going to get it out quick. I'd like to see Shedeur do a little bit more of that at the NFL level.
That was the one thing that I think all Colorado fans were, like, get the ball out. And look, his offensive line was not so great. 2 years ago, it was an atrocity. This last year, it was better, but still, you want a little bit more out of the offensive line, which I'm sure has some impact overall on his statistics, how he's valued, and all that good stuff. But I know neck up, and he's also got the physical tools. He's the real deal when it comes to a package at quarterback.
Right, definitely. And just to hit on the last team, I think he's actually a pretty good fit with the Giants as we probably transition into talking about Travis Hunter, because he just had the ability to get the ball in Travis Hunter's hands at Colorado. I think he would have the same ability to get the ball in Malik Neighbors' hands.
Yep.
And that was a big problem for Daniel Jones this year and part of the reason why he was benched.
Yeah, no, 100%. And obviously the Giants are kind of going through their motions and whatnot, revamping, retooling their team. But yeah, Malik Neighbors is an absolute stud. I had on my fantasy team last year. Neighborhood Watch is what I named my team after. So, but let's talk about the big guy. Number 1, 2, Travis Hunter, the best player in college football, the Heisman Trophy winner. We were talking about it earlier with Brian Billick and Mike Smith, longtime NFL coaches and Super Bowl winning coaches at that. And I'm curious as to if he's going to play both ways, because he's so good at both. And the way that I describe Travis on defense at quarterback is he plays offense while playing defense, because he's so good as a receiver. Right. He's able to interpret a lot of that movement that you need to get the leverage at cornerback.
Great breakdown. Yeah. I would love to see him do both. And the reason why is because the scouts that we have and the analytics that we have agree. What they say is this dude is a top player in the NCAA at the cornerback position, and this dude is a top player at the wide receiver position as well. I think it's going to come down to fit. I think he probably will provide a little bit more value on a snap-to-snap basis as a cornerback, but I'd love to see him as a package player. I wrote an article earlier in the year about what the best fit would be for him. I maintain that a place that has a deep need at cornerback for a cornerback 1 and can slot in a wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver 3 and solve what analysts call the third receiver problem, where if your third receiver is very good, you probably have a good offense, even in spite of the quarterback or the offensive line. I'd like to see him go to a team like that. The team I had highlighted, which I don't think he's going to make it to, I think he'd be the best fit on the Bengals. Their cornerbacks sucked, and their wide receivers were awesome, but T. Higgins is an unrestricted free agent. They still have to extend Jamar Chase. I think if you bring in Travis Hunter as a third or second wide receiver, he changes the face of that offense without having to have all of the usage that he had at Colorado.
Yeah, and when Deion Sanders is your head coach, obviously Jackson State and then Colorado, and he's letting you play both ways.
Oh,
like that's the ultimate cosign. And I agree with you. I think the interesting part about it, though, if you're Travis, is if you have to play one or the other, you're probably going to make more money long term as a receiver.
That's a good point.
Something to kind of consider there as well. But the one thing that I think they could do, because I do think it's hard for me to say he's better at corner, but it is, I think, his natural position. Mm-hmm. You could always design packages for him at wide receiver, right? He doesn't have to play every snap, every down, both ways. That's what Deion did with the Cowboys. Right. He had these third down packages. You play him, every other series, every other play, whatever it is on offense, and then you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and I think when you look at what he does the best, you look at his coverage metrics. He's excellent at limiting separation, but he's also excellent in zone coverage. And so when you really break it down to the film level, he's able to cut off a whole side of the field. And when you're able to do that, particularly if you're a young team or a struggling team, that makes life a lot more easy. If you're still struggling with the quarterback, as a lot of these teams drafting early are, it's a little harder to get the wide receiver the ball. But I think that's why he becomes that wild card package player, or, second and third down guy, third and long, second and long. where he can make plays because he is such an excellent playmaker.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. You know, I think we're going to see 2 Colorado Buffaloes potentially go in the top 5 here in April's NFL draft, which is going to be fantastic. Let's switch gears here real quick because I do want to talk. I got a couple Broncos questions for you.
Let's do it.
The man, Bo Nix, great rookie season for him last year. I mean, their win total was 5.5. They get to 10. They make the playoffs. I think that's a lot better than many people expected, but they've got some deficiencies at the skill positions. They've got to get some running backs. They probably got to get some depth at wide receiver, but the position that I'm looking at for them is tight end.
Okay.
And the hot name right now is obviously Mr. Warren out of Penn State, an absolute stud. Talk to me a little about him, but who are some tight ends maybe that you got your eye on in this draft?
Number one, this is a very deep tight end class. At the Shrine Bowl, I had my eyes on guys who are probably day 2, day 3 picks, like a Rondé Gadsden, Luke Lachey out of Iowa. So you're going to be able to get that tight end somewhere. Obviously, Sean Payton, me being a Saints fan, old Saints fan from Louisiana, knows the days of Jeremy Shockey and Jimmy Graham when that offense was humming. So looking at Tyler Warren, this is another wild card type player. The man lined up at quarterback for Penn State sometimes. But what it really comes down to is he's also an excellent run blocker. And so when I'm talking to guys like Thomas Dimitroff, and when I'm talking to these old scouts, it changes the face of an entire offense when you have a George Kittle-esque player who can not only run the routes but also block, because you have to you have to account for him at all times. It changes the face. I'd love to see Sean Payton get that, especially given he loves the screens. And the screen game for tight ends is really difficult because you don't even know if they're blocking or running around at that point.
Yeah, no, 100%. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, should only be up from here for Broncos country. Real quick, let me tell you about our friends over at Peckish. 2 locations across Colorado. If you come out to Colorado, hit me up. I'm taking you to Peckish. Best chicken wings, best pizza in town.
It's lunchtime. I wish I could get some Peckish chicken wings.
It
man.
is.
That
I'm
sounds
telling
excellent.
you, man. It's a CU haven. I mean, my man Byron, the owner, does a great job. Check him out. DTC location and up there in Boulder on the hill. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot before we get out of here, and then we'll talk some Sumer-Sports. Shedeur, number 1 pick?
I think Cam, from what I'm understanding and the way the consensus is trending, I think Cam is going to go number 1, but let's look at the trends here. Last year, Jaden Daniels, number 2 pick. The year before, CJ Stroud, number 2 pick. I think there is something to the idea that the team that is second will draft a quarterback and will build around him a little bit more than maybe, you try to set up for the first pick. And also, obviously, just the way it goes, the second picking team is slightly better than the first picking team.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, either way, if you're a Buff fan out there, regular listener, watcher of the SCO Show, appreciate y'all. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button on your way out so that way you guys never miss an episode. Sam, before we get out of here, tell the fine folks about Sumer-Sports. Where can they find your work?
Yeah, go check me out at SumerSports.com. There's going to be a lot of great draft stuff. And also, if you use ChatGPT or you use Copilot, you'll find it doesn't work for football, man. Like, you try to look up stuff, it'll pull up stuff from 2019. But if you want updated stuff, go to SumerSports.com. We're about to drop our version called Sumer Brain. Sign up for the wait list.
We love it. Check them out, SumerSports.com. My man, appreciate the time. We'll do it again soon. SCO Buffs, and we'll talk to you guys later.